that some of these NGOs and these groups are working with America's enemies, and the swatting of conservatives and burning of Tesla cars and dealerships may be a sign of things to come. Something I'm very concerned about. I want to talk to JJ Carroll about all that. And then gold, it's another record high being set for gold. And there's other things going on, like the taxes that need to keep these taxes down. That's got to be dealt with. We've got things going on with the financing of our debt. There's so much to talk about that impacts your wallet and your savings. We're going to get to that with Wes Peters and Michael Weiner. But remember, folks, we're brought to you by you, worldviewfoundation.com. We're going to go do some long format interviews, unless you want me to interrupt with a lot of commercials. Well, no, of course you don't. So this is the greatest way to support us, to keep the information going out and to keep this format with the long format interviews, is just to go ahead and support us, okay? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You also find our mailing address. We are looking for more regular monthly contributors, folks. $10, $20. Come on, guys. We need to raise some more money this spring. Costs are going up for us. We're growing. We're expanding. More people are watching. Our bandwidth bill's going up. Our storage bill's going up. Because the more people that watch, the more our bills go up. Hey, Brandon, they say to me in the control room, more people are watching. I don't know whether to rejoice or cry, because the more people that watch, my bandwidth bill goes up, and I'm already paying like $7,000 or $8,000 a month in storage and bandwidth bills for all these files that people watch. Well, I'm glad more people are watching, but I need more people giving. So please do it. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Let's get going. Joining me now is our national security expert, geopolitical expert, David Pine, president of the EMP Task Force, emptaskforce.us, and his own Substack page is dpyne.substack.com. You'll have to excuse my voice. It's spring, allergies, trees are blooming. Sorry, folks in Wisconsin and Minnesota, but it is. Trees are in full bloom here, allergy season, and the more I talk, the hoarser I get. And just when I think on a weekend my voice is recovered, I'm back at it for a full week, and it happens. So a little hoarse, but we'll get through it. Okay, David, there's so much news tonight we have to get to. Where to start, of course, is the issue. But let's go with what is being reported and confirmed, I guess, by some contractors. And that is Russia and China is reporting an emergency action message was sent to the U.S. military today, putting them on a higher alert status. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, so this was reported by Jeffrey Nyquist, who's a colleague of mine on the committee for the present danger of China, and it was confirmed by another source, so it does seem genuine. But it's unclear what this emergency action message was for, but it seems to indicate that multiple U.S. troops, perhaps multiple theaters, are being put on a high alert status. So I would guess that's likely focused in the CENTCOM region, because obviously things are really heating up. We had Hamas rocket attack on Tel Aviv in response to Israel's decision to break the ceasefire and to re-invade Gaza and reoccupy Gaza, and of course bombard Hamas positions. But it could be extended to the Indo-PACOM as well, where I believe that China is accelerating its preparations for a potential invasion of Taiwan, perhaps taking advantage of the U.S. Preoccupation with the Middle Eastern theater.
Wow. We do have, I guess, this footage right here. Let's look at this. Another rocket attack coming into Israel. So things do seem to be heating up over there, no doubt about it. Our reporter from Israel, Aaron Lavarco, is on his way here to the U.S., and so I think he may be here. He should be able to start giving us updates a little bit later, as soon as he gets settled in. So again, I don't know where all this is going, but it does seem, David, to be heating up. If Israel and the United States under President Trump do go after Iran. I mean, what's that to look like, and what do you think the China and other allies of theirs do?
Well, there's been, the neocons have been agitating for U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities for probably 2 decades. I mean, I was in my 30s when they first started agitating for that. It was probably in, I don't know, around 2006, when we were still bogged down in the Iraq War. So that would be one of the most likely targets, would be their nuclear facilities. Unfortunately, they have about 37 different nuclear facilities and missile sites for long-range nuclear-capable missiles. And they're underground. So they have IRBMs and MRBMs that are on mobile launchers, but the mobile launchers are under concrete silos. So it's kind of they're almost like our Minuteman III ICBMs are in concrete silos. They have mobile, medium range, intermediate range ballistic missiles in concrete silos. And they also have hypersonic missiles, hypersonic cruise missiles that are deployed in Iran as well. These would be very difficult to destroy through conventional means alone. There's no way we could be sure of destroying them all unless we employed nuclear missile strikes, and I think the chances of that are pretty low.
Okay, let's go to this one. Reuters. Ukraine strikes Russian strategic bomber airfield targeting huge blast. Okay, this is the latest today, March 20th, 2025. I thought we had a ceasefire. I think things were going to calm down. We're going to get some kind of deal. You're smiling because that's not happening, is it, David?
No, it's not. I mean, it may be on the energy infrastructure front because despite Russian and Ukrainian exchange a couple days ago against each other's infrastructure following the agreement by the U.S. and Russia on an energy infrastructure partial ceasefire contingent on Ukrainian acceptance, Zelensky actually did accept it yesterday. So we haven't seen any energy infrastructure attacks, but this is much more serious because Here Ukraine is going after, Russia's nuclear triad, something they haven't done for some time. And it's, Russia's blackjack bombers are their most advanced and long range. So they're the equivalent of America's B-2 bombers. I mean, can you imagine if, Russian-backed forces from Canada or Mexico were bombarding our strategic bomber base in Missouri with, large combat drones? I think we might have a problem with that. So,
Whitman Air Force Base, right, in Missouri?
Whitman Air Force Base. So, I think the objective here for Zelensky, again, he's not doing hardly anything to really not doing anything to help Ukraine win the war. He's really trying to roll the dice and gamble that Russia will escalate in response with some kind of large-scale military escalation that would ideally minimally just break up the Trump-Russia peace initiative to end the war, stop all negotiations. But potentially, what he's really hoping for is to embroil the U.S. and our NATO allies into World War III with Russia, which really is Ukraine's only potential hope to regain its lost territory, since it's been unsuccessful in doing so on the battlefield.
The Reuters article has a very interesting note here. I think it's very important. Ukraine struck a major Russian strategic bomber airfield on Thursday with drones triggering a huge blast and fire. Now listen, folks, about 435 miles from the front lines of the war, Russian and Ukrainian officials said. So this isn't on the front lines. They're going 435 miles in, which again is very provocative, and that's not what that does not seem like the kind of behavior of someone wanting to de-escalate. Obviously, if you're going 435 miles in, correct?
That's right. Zelensky has no intention of accepting a ceasefire or ending the war or agreeing to, he's been very adamant that he will not accept Trump's peace terms. He's offered zero concessions. This is after 2 months of diplomacy that Zelensky hasn't offered a single concession. He's demanding that Russian troops leave all of Ukrainian territory, including Crimea, that Russia provide $300 billion in reparations payments, that 200,000 NATO peacekeepers be allowed to reinforce Ukraine's border with Russia, and that Putin himself surrender at the War Crimes Tribunal at the International Criminal Court at The Hague, to be imprisoned and potentially executed. So, we talk about maximalist demands here, and we hear the neocons constantly stating that, Russia is the one with maximalist demands. Currently, they're only demanding 5 of Ukraine's 24 oblasts, although it seems that might change because it was reported today by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis on his deep dive show that Russia stated that if these peace talks fail with between Trump and Putin, that their plan is to go after an additional 4 Ukrainian oblasts that border on the ones they already control, including Odessa, which would essentially extend their border all the way to the Dnipro River in some areas, and would also make Ukraine a landlocked country by ceding to Russia control of Odessa Oblast and Mykolaiv.
Okay, so let me make sure I got all this straight here. That was a lot of great information there, David. I want to bring up a graphic that you sent me right here. Here we go. The Kremlin continues to demand that Ukrainians cede Ukrainian territory that Russia does not currently occupy, and to set conditions to make further territorial demands. Go through this.
Yeah. So this is Dmitry Petrov is the Russian foreign ministry spokesman, and he said that the territory of what the Russians refer to as Novorossiya is an integral part of Russia, and that would include not just the 4 oblasts that the Russians currently have annexed in addition to Crimea, but it would also include the 4 adjacent oblasts, which are located to the west and the north of all the way to the Dnipro River. So this is a huge chunk of Ukraine. By my estimation, it would equate to about 37%, perhaps even more, of Ukraine's territory, which is basically double the amount of Ukrainian territory they currently control.
Okay, and then I've got another map I want to bring up that you've sent me. Here we go. Doing all this stuff in real time, folks, because it's moving quick. Okay, here's the next map. Okay, this is the Russian foreign minister says the red region is an integral part of Russia. That's what you were just talking about. There's the map, right?
Yep, that's right. So the light red is the regions that they currently control. And I think it's actually along their constitutional borders, so it'd be a little bit more than they currently control. But then the dark red is the additional area they'd be claiming. Currently, the only control part of very small areas of Kharkiv and also very small areas of Mykolaiv, but they don't have any control over Dnipropetrovsk. I think it might be mispronouncing that one, and it's also Odessa Oblast. So. 2 oblasts that they don't even control, and then the vast majority of 2 others that they barely control at this point.
Okay, so we got a lot of things we're not agreeing on when it comes to these 2 sides. They've agreed not to touch each other's energy infrastructure, apparently, but now you've got Zelensky striking 435 miles into Russia from the front lines. And hitting one of their bomber sites, so part of their nuclear triad, as you said. We've got Russia, their foreign minister, claiming that the red regions that we just showed in that map is an integral part of Russia. But Zelensky's going to say, no, that's part of Ukraine, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he won't even cede. Sevastopol, the port that Russia's controlled, since the collapse of the Soviet Union. There's zero compromise to Russia in terms of territory. And, the ridiculous thing is Ukraine sacrificed, about 90,000 troops trying to retake any Ukrainian territory in 2023 during their summer-fall offensive, and it ended in basically in no success at all. Russians took far more territory during that same period of the offensive that the Ukrainians did, and most of I think almost all of the territory that Ukraine was able to take at great cost has already been recovered by Russia. So The idea that Ukraine is trying to dictate terms, I've kind of the analogy I've made is that after the Battle of the Bulge in January 1945, and the Germans were pushed back to the Rhine in the west and almost to the Oder River in the east, Hitler would be trying to say, okay, you got to give up all German territory and back to our 1939 or even 1941 borders, where they had expanded Germany by about 30+% beyond its 1937 borders. So it's just really ridiculous. It's pie in the sky. Trump shouldn't even listen to Zelensky. He shouldn't pick up the phone. He shouldn't call him. He should designate, Kellogg to be the spokesman there and not allow Ukraine to meet with anyone else until the peace deal with Russia has been negotiated. And then, of course, we would entertain any minor amendments that Zelensky has and take those back to Russia. But essentially, if they were to reject the main terms agreed to by the U.S. and Russia, we would want to cut off Starlink access to force them to agree. Otherwise, Trump has stated that the U.S. will basically leave Ukraine, pull all its troops and support from Ukraine, and let them battle out against Russia alone, and that will invariably end in Ukraine's military collapse and the Russian takeover of probably all of those regions that Peskov and the Russian Foreign Ministry are now claiming as an integral part of Russia.
All right, so David, what do you see coming? If you had to guess, and I'm not going to hold you to it, but how is this going to flesh out? I mean, these two sides don't see that 30. We're near agreeing to any kind of deal. And of course, I guess President Trump is trying to, I think you and Colonel Maness talked about this on a show, but I think President Trump is trying to kind of break up the Russia-China relationship, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's a strategic, imperative in this peace deal, and it's I believe that Vivek Ramaswamy briefed President Trump during the campaign on Vivek's and my joint plan to break up the Sino-Russian alliance with using a peace deal, and it's a lot of those same terms are what Russia's looking for as well. I mean, they've guaranteed to China that nothing can break up their alliance, but the fact is, if we're on good terms with Russia, then there's really a 0% or a very minimal chance that Russia would join a war with China against the U.S. and China would know that. So if China's war planning in terms of a war with the U.S. has involved Russia as an integral partner. They've engaged in joint military exercises to mock invasions of the Hawaiian Islands, for example. Just a couple years ago, and various things like that, planning on who's going to occupy or invade which part of the U.S., splitting Japan between them, kind of a north-south Japan situation, and various other aggressive moves. And without Russia in the mix, China would have to do all that on their own, which I think they're capable of doing. But it would introduce an element of uncertainty on their end that would, could complicate their war planning for, a war with the United States.
All right. So if you had to guess, where's this all going, David? Where's all this headed?
Well, I really think the ball is in the U.S. court. We heard from Rubio and all the EU Politburo leaders that hate us that the ball is in Russia's court. Well, after the Trump-Russia phone call, I think it's really in America's court. And the reason I say that is, Putin's, he's really gone as far as he can go in terms of Russia's national interests in trying to make concessions to Trump on the ceasefire issue. But, the ceasefire issue is really, it's a moot issue. It's really not important. I think the Trump administration is making a big mistake in trying to focus on that because, Russia's essentially told us how we get to a ceasefire, and it's basically we agree on basically the Russia's 4 top points, which are we would say that basically make a joint announcement that we've agreed on the basis for a peace framework, and that would be Ukraine restoration of Ukrainian neutrality outside of NATO. So all NATO troops would pull out, all NATO ties with Ukraine would end. Would be the partial demilitarization of the Ukrainian military, including large-scale reductions in the size and capabilities of Ukrainian strike systems, and that would include, of course, combat drones and missiles, both ballistic and cruise missiles. So the range wouldn't be 700 kilometers as in the case of this attack. The maximum range would be 40 kilometers. And then it would be probably, the post-war border would be the line of control between Russia and Ukraine currently, or some approximation of that, perhaps involving territorial exchanges that are mutually acceptable to the U.S. and Russia. And then finally, no NATO peacekeepers. That any military observers or peacekeepers would have to come from non-European countries that would be considered neutral, perhaps as I've proposed, non-aligned movement countries led by India, to ensure that neither side commits violations of the border in terms of new aggressions or attempts to recover lost territory on the Ukrainian side either.
So the bottom line is, we don't know where this is headed. We could very easily walk ourselves right into World War III. And if everybody thought the election of Donald Trump was going to put the world back in order, they weren't listening to this show, because we warned them that there could be a lot of things that the globalists do, that others do. And of course, we have to be concerned that China, Iran, North Korea, others are working in concert to create trouble at the same time and spread our military thin across too many theaters. This, again, is, people can do what they want. But, a lot of people were prepping and ordering freeze-dried food and everything under Biden. And then a lot of people just kind of thought, hey, Trump's back, nothing to worry about. People had better understand the seriousness of the situation and not just assume because Trump's in the White House, there's nothing bad that can befall America. Closing comment?
Yeah, there's a clear path for Trump to avoid war with Russia and China and Iran. And we've articulated on the show previously with regards to Russia, you accept those main terms. You get to an immediate ceasefire, you finalize the peace agreement, we kind of renegotiate a mutual security agreement with Russia whereby, we withdraw all our troops from Eastern Europe. They pull out some nukes out of the border regions of NATO. With China, it's that we agree that, we publicly state that we will not defend Taiwan militarily, and we will support immediate peace or, peaceful unification talks between China and Taiwan. That would completely diffuse the current crisis where they're poised to invade Taiwan on a dime, with very little notice, perhaps days, if not less. And then, of course, with Iran, we just need to get back on track with the three-phase ceasefire agreement, which was mutually acceptable to both sides. So Trump, again, the ball's in Trump's court. He has the power to make peace and give us absolute security. But the question is, will he be advised by his Nikon advisors to do the opposite, and thereby, put us at an existential risk of destruction with the outbreak of World War III on multi-fronts.
Wow. All right, David, as always, we sure appreciate your analysis. You kind of become a regular here, but you're one of the few guys that we can turn to, I think, for news and analysis on this that are not in the the can, if you will, for a certain outcome. Or a certain projection here. You're just telling it like it is, and that's why we come to you. So thank you for doing that, and I guess we'll probably see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. dpyne.substack.com, folks. dpyne, dpyne.substack.com. You should also follow him on his X account because he's putting out lots of information very fast on his X account. Let me go there for you and blow it up there for you so you can see it. There it is. At America First Con, if you'd like to follow David on X. He's pretty active on X, and of course you see his Substack right there as well. Very active. Things are moving very quickly. I talked to Leo Holman earlier this morning, senior executive producer of the Worldview Report, and we were just bemoaning how fast things are moving. They are moving so quickly, my friends. And you notice a lot of times I'm not staying in my normal 90-minute time slot. I can do that. That's one of the beauties of owning the network and running the network and operating the network. But we deliberately don't have a show behind me other than my own show. That's the replay of Worldview Radio, because I said, Logan, I don't want anyone behind me. I don't want it to get off the air in 90 minutes because there's so much happening as it gets worse and worse. I may not be on the air with Brandon House Live for 90 minutes. I may be on the air for 2 hours, 2.5 hours regularly. And you guys know that has actually been the case because things are moving so fast. But follow David on X and keep up with it all. Now, folks, there you go. We just did a long format interview, another long format interview without interruption. Please go right now, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. This is the Swish for Life. This is the glutathione. You swish with it for about 3 minutes and swallow it or spit it out. I told you last week, Melissa is prone, or maybe it was this week, she's prone to sinus infections 2 or 3 times a year. A lot of times she has to get on an antibiotic. Well, her eye was swollen underneath the other day. She started doing what Dr. Lana says, swish on the hour, every hour. She did that about 10 times in one day, and the next day the swelling was down. And she was able to knock out her sinus infection by simply using Numi, which is loaded with glutathione. And that glutathione detoxes your cells, all right? Studies show it also may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. The 3 things I do every day, you guys know, are Bella Grace, and I need to get Bella Grace up here because I've taken all of them. Bella Grace, Numi, and my Gatatana. Those are 3 things I do every day. Swishforlife.com. Get a subscription, folks, so you don't have to worry about forgetting and not having enough on hand. You know I do the Gatatana. That is loaded with 90 billion plant cells, 1 scoop. Half a scoop goes on Dolly's food every day. I get 1 scoop in water. And then there's 5 clinical trials on it, okay? This is loaded with protein, amino acids, all kinds of things you need. There's the cat that had the tumor inside, got on the Gatatana and is gone. I give it to Dolly because I'm trying to have a lab that actually will live more than 10 years and not get cancer. So I wanted to get lots of things loaded with those trace minerals and antioxidants. So I take it, she takes it. This is legit. Again, get a subscription and don't miss out. Get a subscription, okay? This is what we do, folks. Melissa and I, we take Gatatana, we do our Numi, we take our Bella Grace elixir every day. So do that, will you? And then, of course, the Bella Grace itself. There it is. Now, Melissa doesn't only take the Bella Grace, the elixir, which I do every day, she does every day. She loves the skincare, absolutely loves the skincare product. Now, Logan is on the Bella Trim along with Melissa. And of course, the beautiful thing about the Bella Trim is it not only curbs your appetite, cuts down on your desire for the munchies, it also is said to regulate your blood glucose levels, optimize your insulin, lowers your bad cholesterol, raises your good cholesterol, helps normalize your blood pressure, overall good cardiac health. It helps improves your prebiotics, lowers inflammation. So again, a lot of great things about the Bella Trim in addition to the weight loss, okay? The sleep, the restorative sleep. She uses 2 of these a night, Melissa does, because that helps her stay asleep. Her problem isn't getting asleep, it's when she gets awakened and then she can't get back to sleep. So she loves that. That's also all natural. So again, you can check all this out. And of course, we have the Bella Grace elixir, but this one is empty because I have taken it. All right. So check all this out. MelissaHouseBG.com. MelissaHouseBG.com. Don't forget about all the other sponsors over there. You know, with all that's going on in the world, I would definitely, if I were you guys, be seriously considering the satellite phone like I have. Get a free satellite phone with a subscription. You can also use that 866-738-3224 number. The satellite or the solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400. I highly recommend these. They have a variety of them. Some, if you just want to run a few appliances, if you want to run a lot of things in your house, they have them. They have the solar generators. But I would urge you to call. Use that number. Ask questions. I don't think you want to buy a solar generator until you talk to one of their representatives so you get the right thing, right? You want to get what you need. So you're going to, I think, call. I highly recommend you call. on that. I don't think you have to call to get a satellite phone. You could probably just order that right up at worldviewtalk.com. But you should call to get the solar generator. 1-866-738-3224, 1-866-738-3224. They have the bivvies, which those allow you to text through your cell phone. The cell towers are down. You're still texting through your cell phone, through the bivvy, to a satellite, down to your family member that has a bivvy. Check all that out. Of course, the Faraday bags to protect these things. You can get the blankets like I have here. If you're going to work with a laptop, cover your lap so you're not just zapping yourself with electromagnetic force. They have the bigger blanket you can cover your bed with. If some of you are sensitive to all the EMF and 5G and all that, you can actually cover your bed with it, protect your body, get your body a little bit of rest. So again, you can check all that out at worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. All right. Joining me now is Trevor Loudon. It's been a little bit since we've had Trevor on, so I called him up today. I said, Trevor, time for an update. And he graciously agreed. Trevor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always good, Brandon. Good to see you, sir.
You too, my friend. The beard really fits you, my friend. You look good with the beard. I like it.
Do you think I look more intelligent, Brandon?
You look like a scholar, a gentleman and a scholar.
Well, thanks. At least a scholar anyway.
Professor Trevor. There you go. Hey, Jimmy Carter. I don't think he ever met a communist he didn't like. And Jimmy gave us the Department of Education. Donald Trump today signed an executive order basically getting rid of it. Now, I don't know what all that means. Does that mean actually getting rid of it? Or does it mean just taking some of the money and responsibility and dissolving it into the Department of Labor and other things? I don't know. I want your feedback. But I have to admit, the signing of his executive order today was super cute. All right, here we go, folks. Here's Trump. They're all going to sign their own little executive orders.
It was very lucky. I signed another document that turned out to be very good for the country, and I said, let's use that same pen. I don't know, is anybody superstitious? Ron, are you superstitious?
He's got a lucky pen.
Let's use that same pen.
Sharpies over there, signing their executive orders. That's hilarious. That is funny. Had you seen that, Logan? Had you seen that, Trevor?
No, I hadn't. He's a showman, isn't he? You've got to give him credit. It's a great day for America, and he did it in style.
Yes, he
Good
did.
on
All
those
right.
little kids. They'll all remember that for the rest of their lives.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So what does this mean, you think? Do you think we're really going to see the end of the Department of Education, or is it just going to be broken up and put into other agencies?
Well, I think there'll be a bit of both. I think he's already fired half the staff, or, half the staff have been given notice, 1,300 people. So that's great. And I think, yes, some of it probably maybe trade training and things like that might go into labor, stuff like that. So, but I think this will be a significant downgrading of the centralized power that the department has had over the state education boards and that sort of thing. So I think it probably won't be quite as dramatic as maybe we hope, but I think it will be a very significant step in the right direction. And I think this will encourage parent activists all over the country to start looking at new options and start trying to do the same in their own states.
Indeed. All right, so we got another social media post by President Trump today. Let me read it to you. Unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care even a little bit about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. Lawyers endlessly search the United States for these judges and file lawsuits as quickly as they find them. It is then the obligation of law-abiding agencies of government to have these so-called orders overturned. The danger is unparalleled. These judges want to assume the powers of the presidency without having to obtain 80 million votes. They want all the advantages with none of the risk. Again, a president has to be allowed to act quickly and decisively about such matters as returning murderers, drug lords, rapists, and other such type criminals to their homeland or to other locations that will allow our country to be safe. It is our goal to make America great again. And such a high aspiration can never be done if radical and highly partisan judges are allowed to stand in the way of justice. Stop nationwide injunctions now before it is too late. If Justice Roberts and the United States Supreme Court do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in very serious trouble, end quote. You know, I think our founders were extremely concerned about a runaway judiciary, Trevor.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
Well, this idea that the three equal branches, co-equal branches of government, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, is hokum. The judiciary was never meant to be as strong as the executive. That's just a fiction that has been promoted over the years. The executive is supposed to be, the judiciary is supposed to be a check. But when you get a lower court justice issuing injunctions against federal policy, at the most they should be able to do is maybe issue an injunction against a person in their state, who may be up for deportation or something like that. One person or a particular class of people. But these blanket things, that's not the intention of the Constitution. And this has to be ruled on, and this has to be stopped, 100%. This is what has done so much damage to Israel. The left took over the Israeli Supreme Court, which is now more powerful than the Israeli government. They can't get anything done because of a bunch of communists. The same in Brazil. That's why Bolsonaro was turfed out of Brazil, because the Brazilian Supreme Court is run by communists, and they helped to get Lula, the other communist, elected in that country. Yeah, so there's very good reasons for President Trump to refer this to the Supreme Court and get this ruled on very smartly.
We have a headline tonight from our friends over at the Gateway Pundit. Revealed Chief Justice John Roberts caught in secretive invite-only club for elite judges and lawyers that includes James Boasberg, Beryl Howell, Amita Mehta, and Kanjay Brown Jackson. I guess this has come about through journalist Bad Kitty Unleashed, reported on Thursday. The Supreme Court Chief Justice is involved in these secretive invite-only clubs. Of course, some of these judges, like Judge Jeb has been one of the guys smacking down President Trump's executive orders and whatnot. What do you make of this?
Well, that's right. You have a judicial mafia, like you have a judicial deep state, like you have other deep states. One of the first fronts for the Communist Party USA in America was the National Lawyers Guild, which was to put communist lawyers, then communist judges, into every possible judicial position they could to basically rule in favor of the left and against conservatives. And this has been going on for 60 years. The Ninth Circuit in California is basically all run by communists, Maoists. And so this is no surprise that it's got to this stage. But then you have the other level, so you've got that level operating in the lower down. But many of these people, these communists, made it to the Supreme Court, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and people like that. And Stephen Breyer, for instance, had a Maoist on his staff for several years, an actual pro-Chinese communist on his legal staff. So yes, there's an infiltration there, and there's an old boys club, and there's a deep state all working. The communists and the globalists figured out a long time ago to take down America, you had to get control of the American legal system, because America is built on a system of laws. Americans respect the rule of law, and they will follow judicial decisions, even perhaps sometimes when they shouldn't. And so it was absolutely a top priority of the hardcore leftists and the communists to get control of these positions, and now we're seeing the result.
Now we're seeing the result. All right, let's switch real quick to Canada. Justin Trudeau is gone, but he's been replaced by a guy named Carney, who seems as bad. I don't think he can be worse, but he certainly seems as bad. What are your thoughts?
Well, Justin Trudeau is a red diaper baby. His father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, was a pro-Chinese, pro-Soviet communist, very deeply embedded with the communist movement. Well, Mark Carney was on the executive board of the World Economic Forum. And inexplicably, Trump just endorsed Carney, the leftist, when you have Poilievre, the conservative, who is running and was likely, before this whole Canadian trade tariff thing broke down, Poilievre was likely to win. And I think President Trump would have been very happy to have a conservative in Canada.
Well, why do you think he would endorse Carney?
I have no idea. If Carney's easy to deal with, I don't know. But he just endorsed a socialist, a hardcore socialist, who will do everything he can to confound Trump's policies. And Poilievre was likely to win. The conservative opponent was likely to win. And now the Liberal Party, which Carney is part of, is completely compromised by the Chinese at every level. So Trump isn't just endorsed the Chinese puppet in Canada. I hope he quickly disendorses this man.
Yeah,
that's a big problem. Why would you want another pro-Chinese socialist running Canada when we've just had Justin Trudeau doing massive damage, helping the Chinese to infiltrate this country? The Chinese are getting into this country they get their money through real estate deals in Vancouver. They use that, they do big real estate deals in Vancouver, and they funnel the money into America. Plus the triads, the Chinese gangs, they came from Hong Kong when Hong Kong went to the communists, came to British Columbia and set up their triads, which are heavily involved in drug smuggling, and America's the bigger market for them than Canada is. So we've just enabled the party. Trump's just endorsed the leader of the party that's enabled that stuff.
Well, we just call them the way we see them, don't we, Trevor?
Yeah, we got it. I agree with most of what President Trump does, but I cannot fathom for the life of me why he would endorse Mark Carney over Poilievre. Can't understand it.
Let's talk about China in Canada, China in Mexico. It's something I keep coming back to over and over, because I think America, and most Americans don't realize just how much America is at risk with China infiltrating Canada, China infiltrating Mexico. What say you?
Oh, look, 100%. It'd be like thousands and thousands of Nazis coming into Canada and Mexico during World War II. You wouldn't want that, would you? Because they come across the border, they sell us drugs, they sabotage, they do all sorts of things. Mexico is now run by communist president Sheinbaum. Claudia Sheinbaum is affiliated with the Sao Paulo Forum, which was set up by Fidel Castro and Lula to win back in Latin America for communism what had been lost in Eastern Europe. She's hardcore communist. And she is not going to be a friend to America. She can probably be forced to do things that we like, but she has deep ties to the Chinese. The Chinese are massively involved in Mexico now. Chinese troops are involved in Mexico, as are Russians, as are Iranians, as are Hezbollah, as is Hamas, as are the cartels, as are the Venezuelans and the Cubans. And they're all waiting there to cause, and coming across the border, to cause chaos in this country. And it's a similar situation exists to a lesser degree in Canada. A lot of drugs come across the border from Canada, a lot of illegal money comes, a lot of infiltrators come over the border. And Trump was right to get both countries to tighten their borders. But he's got to realize who he's dealing with here. Neither Carney or Sheinbaum are in any way friends of America.
Let's talk quickly in our last closing minutes here, Trevor, about these judges. Have you done any homework on Judge Jeb Boasberg or any of these other judges that are giving Trump trouble? How many of them are progressives, communists, affiliated with, radical leftist Marxist groups?
Well, many of them are. Like Boasberg himself, his daughter is involved in a very, very radical left-wing immigration group that her name is Catherine Boasberg. And she's involved in this group that basically defends illegal immigrants. And so her father is trying to stop deportation of illegal immigrants. You'd think there's a little bit of a, grounds for accusation there, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you? Yeah.
But like out in California, like for instance, Kamala Harris is very close to a top judge in California called Goodwin Liu, who comes directly out of the Maoist movement of California. His partner is a well-known Maoist. He used to hang around with the Maoists at Stanford University. Now he's one of California's top judges. And I could give you hundreds of examples like this. There is actual real communists serving on the bench all across America in many cities and towns at every level of the judiciary.
I want to ask you about this article here. I'll ask another guest about it later tonight. Rogue Soros-funded NGO plots multiple city assault on Tesla as domestic terrorism escalates. I'll ask another guest about this later tonight, but when I read that today, and then I also saw a report from Ben Berquam that some of these NGOs now are working with the cartels.
Yeah, well, they have been for a long time,
Yep.
to bring people across the border, etc.
But I guess they're doing it more so. I guess some of them are doing it more so now that some of the money from USAID and everything is dried up.
Well, is in the process of drying up. I don't know if it's dried up yet so much. But yes, look, these NGOs...
Here's my question. My question is, if you have rogue Soros-funded NGOs plotting multi-city assault on Tesla as domestic terrorism escalates, and you got NGOs working with cartels, how concerned do we need to be when we're seeing all of this swatting, all these conservatives being swatted? We have a reporter by the name of White who's now been found dead. Could be random murder. I don't know. He was an InfoWar reporter. But we got all this swatting of conservatives. We had at our conferences in April 2018, a bunch of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Southern Poverty Law Center, Muslim Brotherhood types putting out, to call the hotels where we were holding our events. And the hotels said, look, we're getting too many threats. We're pulling your contracts. You and I have warned about some of these Marxist groups actually putting out maps of where conservatives live or conservative organizations are based. How concerned are you about this and what we're seeing with Tesla? And do you anticipate anything like this becoming a pattern and escalating in the years of the Trump administration?
Look, absolutely. I've been warning about this for a long time. We've got cells out there now who are plotting some pretty horrendous stuff, in my opinion. And we saw the assassination by Mangione, I can remember, the young guy who killed the health executive, and has become a hero to many on the left. We see the sabotage, attacks on Tesla cars. That's just a blatant terrorist intimidation tactic. That's communist as communist as you can get. And then we get these swatting incidents. I think Pam Bondi said that I may have been wrong with this, but she said this is really attempted murder, because if you get a SWAT team to your house at 3:00 in the morning, you don't know who they are, and you think that your house is being attacked by a bunch of Antifa, and you get out and you've got a gun in your hand, you might end up dead very quickly. And I think this would be exactly what some of these crazy leftists would desire. So yes, we should be, and I expect the Trump administration to crack down hard on this, and I expect the Trump administration to start doing RICO lawsuits on some of these George Soros-funded organizations and their ties with hardcore communists, Maoists, and apparently cartel people as well. I know Trump's been in office a month. It's a tall order to get him to deal with all the problems all at once, but I'm sure this is on his agenda and it can't start soon enough.
Yeah, he's only been there about 8 weeks, right? January 21st,
Yeah.
and now here we are, March 20th. So 8 weeks.
He's done more than I think both Bushes did in their first and all their terms put together.
You got that right. You got that right. TrevorLoudon.com. Got anything you want to promote for Let You Go?
Yeah, look, just go to my books, my website, TrevorLoudon.com. You got to, Stealth, Kamala Harris's Communist Roots, and any Australians in the audience, I know you have some.
Yeah.
I've got a new book on Albanese. It's called Comrade Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese's 40-year alliance with Australian communism. Every Australian voter should read that before the election in May. The man is a complete communist, and every American should care, because when President Trump confronts China in the Pacific, he needs Australia on our side, and Albanese is on China's side, and he needs to be voted out in May. So everybody who cares about liberty should check this out.
TrevorLoudon.com. TrevorLoudon.com.
Or Amazon.
Or Amazon. Okay. And hey, Trevor, what about, I don't know who the guy is, but I guess he was at the White House on St. Paddy's Day. Some guy from Ireland running for president that was at the White House.
Great. Conor McGregor. I think he's MMA. I'm not quite sure, but he's a great fighter. And what he said about immigration was 100% right. And I think he will do very, very well in the Irish election. I think he'll get a lot of public support because he's a scrapper. He's going to transfer his fighting skills to the political arena, and good for him.
Well, that'll be fun to watch. That's for sure. TrevorLoudon.com.
That'll shake up Ireland for sure.
Yes, it will.
It needs it. It needs it right now. The Irish people are suffering pretty badly from the radical left just swamping their country with who knows.
Indeed,
who knows.
they are. TrevorLoudon.com or his books on Amazon. TrevorLoudon.com. Trevor, great seeing you.
Always good, Brandon, and thanks in regards to the audience.
Thank you, Trevor. Oh, you guys saw my wife brought me my Galatana during the interview. And I take it every night. You guys see me take it on the air every night. I'm about to be infused with all kinds of vitamins that within seconds will go right into my cells. That's what Dr. Lana showed us, all the science on this, right? So I highly recommend it. Highly recommend this. Get your subscription to Galatana. 90 billion plant cells in one scoop. And it's a little bitty scoop, by the way. It lasts quite a while if you just use one scoop a day for yourself. But like Melissa and I are each taking it. So, and Dolly gets half a scoop for her food. You don't want to leave any on the bottom. It's too good. Sometimes if I get a little bit on the bottom, I have to drop in some water. I should be using my filtered water, but I don't want to lose any of it. Woo-wee. All right, there you go, folks. Melissa House, GPA.com. Melissa House, GPA.com. A great way to support your health and us, this network, one of our good sponsors here. They only support us if you order the product. And we don't promote products we don't use. We don't promote products we don't believe in. And we love products that have science behind them. And like this one, multiple clinical trials. Melissa House, GPA.com, so you can support your health and us at the same time. Joining me now is JJ Carroll, our very own JJ, has a show here each and every night, 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern. He also has a brand new website I want to tell you about, but we got a lot of news to get to first, but get a pen and paper. JJ, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. There's so much happening every single day. It's almost hard to keep up.
It is. It is a big chore to keep up. I saw an article today that I want to address with you. I think it all fits together. Here we go. Rogue Soros-funded non-government organizations plots multi-city assault on Tesla as domestic terrorism escalates. I saw that today and I thought, this fits with what we've been talking about on my show now for a while, particularly after April 2018, when a bunch of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Muslim Brotherhood, Southern Poverty Law Center types got together out there on social media and started calling the hotels where I was going to have my events at while I was already on the road. And they started, due to the threats, canceling my contracts for my events. I had like 1,800 people registered in Minneapolis, over 1,000 registered in Milwaukee, probably, I don't know, close to 1,000 in Green Bay. These all got canceled while we were on the road. And I began to warn, don't be shocked if some of these groups start targeting the homes of conservatives, conservative broadcasters, their media outlets, or the talk show host. Well, now we have swatting going like crazy. We got one guy that was with InfoWars, Mr. White, who's now deceased under suspicious circumstances. The swatting is totally out of hand. And now we're looking at rogue, according to Zero Hedge, rogue Soros-funded NGO plots, multi-city assault on Tesla. Well, then I go over and I look and see a video with Ben Berquam, where Ben Berquam is interviewing a guy, and he's talking about how the NGOs are working with the cartels. I want to play a little of this and get your response to this.
Okay.
What about the NGOs that are aiding and abetting them? What should be done to them? Who named them, and what should be done to them?
Well, we have 3 in this area. There's people helping people in the border zone. There's the humanitarians, and there's the No More Deaths, which we classify as like the Antifa of water droppers. Now that they're shutting it down, this is when you can really tell if they're getting their info from the cartel and they're being funded by the cartel, because once it's not free-flowing everywhere and they're only coming through in certain spots, and if water keeps showing up in those certain spots because it's closing down more and more, then it's like, well, how did you know they were going to come over here? There's humanitarians.
Let's go back there real quick.
They're dumping water somewhere around here.
Just south of Arivaca, and it looks like they've got water droppers right here. We're going to try to see. Fresh sign, so they can't be too far up here. Here's someone. You can see all the tracks of the illegals coming out. Here's fresh. That's a fresh sign.
All right, so we'll stop it there. So they're looking at all the footprints, watching these illegals come through, and he's saying that they know where to go. So they must be getting intel and information. Now, this guy, again, is claiming that that they're working, that the cartels are working with these NGOs. So I go back to my initial question. If you have NGOs, according to Zero Hedge, working to carry out these attacks on Tesla, as we see here, then how do we know that we don't have to be worried about NGOs, cartels, communist, Marxist, Islamic groups working together to escalate a coming civil war or civil unrest or whatever you want to call it? And now you think swatting's bad? If you think swatting's bad, wait till they create enough diversion or chaos in a city or town that the police can't respond to their specifically targeting now not just Tesla cars, but the broadcast centers of Worldview Tube or the home of J.J. Carroll. Does any of this cross your mind ever?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. When you begin to look at the NGOs and what Doge and Donald Trump have been able to expose is USAID has been funding all of the international NGOs, and DHS has been funding all the domestic NGOs. And there's a line that gets blurred between the international and domestic NGOs. They're all tied together. All of this is tied together. Soros is funding the rogue judges helping them get in, and rogue DAs and U.S. attorneys. He has also helped paying all the NGOs, these mom and pop NGOs that gentleman driving the border is talking about. Those are smaller grouped NGOs that fall under Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services. So the money's starting to dry up, and they're starting to get nervous and anxious. They're literally, when you cut off the money supply, they're like an engine that runs out of gas. The car's not going anywhere. And you're going to start to see violence because there is no other recourse. Okay, so think of this as more of a macro. You tried to kill Donald Trump, you tried to put him in jail, try to get rid of his business, you try to impeach him, blah, blah, blah. You can't do anything to him. So what do? You begin to go after and attack to keep conservatives silent, to keep them quiet. So the NGOs are the engine of this giant beast. And who is filling the tank of the NGOs? George Soros, USAID, our own government, the people that hate America. It's all interconnected. And
then
I
wait for
believe,
China. How about China? Why not the cartels? Why don't they get their funding from some of these groups and work internally? So enemies, foreign and domestic. Pressure from above, pressure from below, the communist tactic, pressure from above, pressure from below. You got the media, you got the politicians, Nancy Pelosi types, Chuck Schumer types talking and carrying out, and the media saying what they say, pressure from above, and then pressure from below with money flowing from different NGOs, George Soros, China, maybe even the cartels start making up some of the gap.
Well, I had a very interesting conversation yesterday in the vault with retired Colonel Douglas McGregor, and he made a great point. He says when you begin to shut down the border, which is happening now, and you begin to squeeze the cartels' smuggling routes, they are not going to sit by and just allow their trillion-dollar business to go down the tubes. They're going to fight. And once America realizes that the cartels are here in America, they're no longer stopped at the border. That's a fallacy. They have gone into U.S. just like Amazon. I always compare the cartels to Amazon. Think about this. Think about 3 years ago with Amazon. Did they have those big blue trucks with Amazon Prime? No. You had people renting U-Hauls, people were using their own vans. It was all herky-jerky. So what did Amazon decide to do? We're going to pump money into our infrastructure, and now we have everything laid out. Same thing with the cartels. The cartels were literally subcontracting the narcotic movement to biker gangs, MS-13 Inside America, the Mexican Mafia, 18th Street Gang, all these savages. Then they decided, wait a minute. Why are we farming this out? I'm losing product. I have all kinds of people that are rolling on us, making deals with the feds. We're going to create our own infrastructure. The cartels thought just like Amazon did, and they've created this whole web of transportation system. So when you begin to ask the bigger question, are they all connected? Of course they are, Brandon. Criminal activity and criminal conduct overlap each other. They become, it's a web, and they overlap, and then they begin to see, oh, we have commonality. We share this. We share the same distribution system. Well, why don't we partner? So when my drugs get dry, I can turn to you and I can move children, or vice versa. This is what's happening in America, and now we're beginning to see, as those criminal organizations get harder and harder for them to move their products and or their thoughts. So think of the cartels as well as Antifa, as well as the crazy left. They're all in this together. They're all mentally ill. They're moving either their thoughts, their beliefs, or the products. And what happens when they all start getting screwed down? They get violent because we're taking away their power and their wealth. And that's what we're seeing now in America. And if Donald Trump does not get the DOJ and the FBI to attack these people, it's going to mushroom, and you're absolutely right. They're going to come for your home. And I dare anybody come for my home. Go ahead. Come and try that. See how well you do when I pull a bullet right between your eyes. That's the truth.
Well, absolutely, and that's your God-given right and your obligation as the head of your home, as a father, as a husband. But most Americans don't think strategically. They haven't been trained because they've never been in a position. Most people are in a position where they have to worry about being targeted. So why would they think about it, right? But most Americans aren't thinking about how the enemy works, which is why, know your enemy, know your enemy's tactics, understand their warfare. How concerned are you that before the Trump administration 4 years is over, that we are to see some of the chaos and lawlessness that we've all, saw in 2020? Are we going to see a repeat of that or not? And why haven't they done it sooner?
I think they're testing the waters. They're seeing what his response is going to be, and his response hasn't been really strong, I'll be honest. Why? Because people are destroying Teslas all over America. Guys are keying them. They're setting the facilities on fire. If they're like a wild child that has not been tamed, and if he does not, meaning Trump does not crack down on this immediately, but it has to happen from the top down. We have traitors in our government. He knows who has wasted, abused, and stolen our money through Doge. Why are those people not arrested right now? That sets the tone, and then you work your way down. All of these people, the people that bum rushed his hotel, the Trump Plaza, the people that are burning these cars, why are they not very strongly handled and thrown in jail? Let me give you an example. And you might think, well, this is not a really big deal, but it's a huge deal. So if you look at the latest video of the Tesla dealership where they went in, these protesters went in, and this young lady I think it was a young lady. You can't tell anymore, right? So 4 or 5 police officers are telling this lady as they're trying to get her arm barred to the ground to put her in handcuffs, they're like, please stop resisting. Please stop resisting. I hated when I was a law enforcement officer. You know why I hated it? Because those are gutless bastards. And because of these gutless bastard police officers don't know how to handle their business, the other savages see that and they think that I am impotent like those guys are. I used to hate that in my job when I would have to deal with, and I knew it, I would have to deal with people that normally would not fight me. They're fighting me because they dealt with you because you were a gutless bastard and didn't know how to do your job. I'm watching these police handle these people. Why are they not super violent with them? Meaning the moment somebody would square off on me, I would throat punch them. I would put them to the ground. They would be hogtied within seconds, Brandon, hogtied. But they don't react now because the police are so soft, because we've demonized our police so much that they're scared to death. You're showing on the screen now. Where is the men? Where are the men? Honestly, where are the men? If I worked at that Tesla dealership, those two, whatever they are, would have their heads caved in. I would have crushed their skulls. I would have broken their arms in order to get them back behind them. I would either duct tape them together or I would detain them somehow, but with extreme violence and extreme force. But we don't have men anymore in this country. We have just a bunch of limp-wristed sissies as masquerading as men. That's the problem. If you really want to know, Brandon, if you want to bring it all the way down to the base problem is we have no men in our country. None. Let me ask you something.
And
back in the 30s or 40s, but wait a minute, back in the 30s and 40s or 50s or 60s, you think these kids would be able to do this?
No. And not only would they not be able to get away with it, when the cops showed up, they would have seen nothing. Those guys may have been bloodied and on the ground and with birds, cartoon character birds swirling around their head with like a crown. And the police would have said, I see nothing. These guys tripped and fell. Okay, come on, guys. I mean, the police would have turned their back and said, yeah, the community, and see, this is where we've gone wrong in our country. Many areas, but one area we've gone wrong is we believe the idea that government somehow is above the people. Government is created by the people, for the people. Government and the laws is nothing more than individuals coming together collectively to defend individual rights. And what we've done today is when a citizen seeks to defend their property, protect themselves, deal with the evil, they get treated as an equal with the criminals. You're both getting charged. What? I can take it back to the Bible. When you see Noah coming off the ark, God says to the 8 people coming off the ark, I'm going to entrust you with the right to take a life if someone sheds innocent blood. Someone sheds innocent blood, you can take their life. So coming off the ark, God didn't give that authority to civil government. There was no government around. He gave it to the family, right? He gave it to individuals. And then you see when government's created, it's individuals who were empowered by God to carry out capital punishment if necessary. And those individuals simply said, we're empowered individually, well, let's come together collectively to make a government that defends individual liberty because we can do it more effectively as a group. But you see Lot gets kidnapped, and Abram and his family and people are dragged off with their goods, and Lot's taken off with him. Abram says, I'm going to go get him. I'm going to get my relative Lot. And Abram puts together his militia. You read about this in the Old Testament. He goes after them, and in the process, they kill a bunch of them, and they take a bunch of their goods to make up for their trouble, restitution. So they get their family members back, they get their goods back, and they take some of the goods, what was called in the scriptures, the booty of the enemy, and they come back. And in the Bible, Abram is blessed. He's blessed for this. So what does that show you? You kidnap one of my family members, not only do I have the right to get you back, I have the right to kill you. Now, what we've done in America is we have, I believe, my opinion, you can disagree, we have not allowed family members, when someone's family member is kidnapped, sexually assaulted, raped, kidnapped, the courts can handle it if the parent and family member doesn't get there first. But if they do, they should say, well, they got taken care of. God ordained them to take care of family, and you don't mess with family. But the guy took care of them. He beat the living daylights out of them. We arrested him. We tried him. Now we're going to... Kidnapping should be a capital crime. We stopped doing that in America. But we're going to do a capital crime, and we're going to give the shotgun, the pistol, to the dad. And we're going to say, there he is. And you line him against the wall, and you televise it, and the father gets to blow his brains out. And the message is sent. You mess with anybody's family, and they take care of business before we can get there, so be it. But if they take care of business and turn them over to us, the authorities, and we try them and they're found guilty, we're putting the pistol, the shotgun, the rifle, whatever, into the hand of the dad or the granddad or the oldest son, whoever's left. And they're going to take on capital punishment because we're sending a message. You do not mess with families, and you do not mess with the authority of the home. If you do, the government is in lockstep with that home because government is derived from a collection of homes. But what we've done is we have separated the government from the individual and from families. And we somehow stand back thinking the government is above us. No, the government works for us, and the government should turn around and say to us, the owner, carry out this capital punishment, and it should be televised.
Well, if you did that, everything stopped. And don't say that it can't work. Well, look at Singapore. People don't even litter. They don't even spit on the street. Now, I would guarantee you this in that Tesla dealership, majority male, right? Majority male salesman. They had to sit there and watch these morons spray paint their outside of their building for minutes, and they did nothing. I'll tell you exactly what they did. They called the cop 911 and said, please send somebody here. And in the meantime, they committed thousands, maybe $100,000 worth of damage to that building. And then they marked them as cowards. The men that I know, my brothers-in-laws, my friends, my colleagues, there's no way that we sit there and allow this to happen. Look, you're showing them burning a Tesla dealership / repair shop. No one's going to jail. No one's calling it domestic terrorists except a few people. And the media is applauding it. You have people that are now the new thing on TikTok and X is to ask for the assassination of Elon Musk and Donald Trump without saying the word assassination. We are living in times, I believe, where Donald Trump's life every single day is at risk. Same thing with Elon Musk.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And how long before these thugs, groups, organizations get together and then start targeting individual leaders, vocal people, broadcasters? Because we know it wasn't too many years ago where they all created a map, by the way. They created a map, and we've showed it here, where they created maps, particularly in Washington, D.C., and were naming the different conservative groups and where they were based. So I guess with all that being said, with that article I saw at Zero Hedge today, I got to thinking about that, and then I combined it with the interview with Bergquam with the guy saying, hey, these NGOs are now working with the cartels. I'm like, well, it wouldn't be long before they're all working together, targeting their shared enemies. Okay, so let me go to another Bergquam video. I'll play a little of this and have you respond to this. Here we go.
Okay.
I've got some additional news since we spoke last.
Okay, let's take it first. We're releasing illegals that Tom Homan's ICE agents arrested. I think anybody's jaw is going to drop at the news of this.
Yeah, and apparently, and it's not just San Diego, got word from Phoenix, got word from multiple different offices across America. There's two branches of ICE. You've got HSI, the investigative side of it, and then you've got ERO, the removal side of it. And apparently there are some deep state holdovers, Biden holdovers on the ERO side that are either refusing to process the people that HSI captures, or slow walking it, or just making the claim they don't have bed space, which is why I'm out here. I'll talk about this in just a minute. This is a Border Patrol soft site outside of El Paso, Texas. But apparently, many of these ERO offices are either refusing to or dragging their feet on it, and they actually released several of the people in that first operation that Tom Homan kicked off on that first Sunday. Many of those people were actually released by ERO. I'm getting that word.
Okay, well, tell me your thoughts on that.
Okay, first, Ben Bergquam I know him. He's an incredible investigative journalist. So the moment I heard this, I picked up my phone and I called my ICE contact who runs Fugitive Task Force, very highly successful, higher level guy. And I said, is ICE and ERO, Enforcement Removal Office, are you guys releasing illegal aliens? He says, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I said, okay, well, where's it breaking down? He says, well, once we arrest somebody, and if they have one of those fictitious NTAs, notice to appear, from the Joe Biden administration through the boondoggle of parole and asylum, they get to go before the judge, the immigration judge. We call them IJs. And the IJs are releasing them. They're bonding them out. So I said, so you're making the arrest. You and ERO are making the arrest. You're putting them in the camp. We call it camp, the prison. So you put them in camp, and then they see the judge, and then the judge releases them. Yes, that's what's happening. So when you understand in the business, in the business that I was in for 2.5 decades, the IJs are under the EOIR, the Executive Office of Immigration Review. They are notoriously liberal. Many of the immigration judges are prior defense attorneys for immigration law. They're gutless. They're inefficient, and they're corrupt. Everyone knows that in my business. So you have liberal immigration judges, after Tom Homan's ICE and ERO are going out and arresting these people. It takes hundreds of man hours to do this. And they arrest them, and then the IJ's releasing them. Our system is so sick, and I believe it is the liberals, the crazy liberals, but the biggest part, if we could remove them, is the judges. The immigration judges, the circuit court judges, hell, even the Supreme Court justice. We have a judicial problem in the United States of America. And I believe we're living in a constitutional crisis, Brandon, where I believe Trump needs to just say, I'm the executive in the executive branch. Thank you for your opinion, judges. Now go stick it and just go do what he needs to do. It's simple. It really is. Andrew Jackson did it. Andrew Jackson told the Supreme Court, thank you for your opinion on me having to give back the lands in Georgia to the Cherokee. He said, thank you for your opinion. Now come in and enforce it. Meaning, what are you going to do in your black robe? You're going to chase me? Well, I'm going to shoot you in your head. We're so far from men being men that this is why we're in this litigious world where men that are absolutely physically, mentally, spiritually weak are somehow in positions of power, and they're ruling us. It is shocking, to be honest with you.
And by the way, Andrew Jackson probably would have done that because he got into a duel at one point. Remember that?
Yeah. He was not a man to mess with.
And he ended up having a bullet lodged in himself, and he got lead poisoning, which eventually long-term killed him. And he also was known for taking his cane and trying to beat a would-be assassin whose gun misfired twice. His guards had to pull him off of the guy.
Where are those men? Where are they today?
Yeah. Look at this headline. FBI agent arrested at New York airport attempting to flee the country. An FBI agent who previously criticized the Bureau, was arrested this week on charges of illegally disclosing classified information, according to court records filed Tuesday. Jonathan Buma, who has worked for the FBI for 15 years, allegedly printed copies of confidential FBI documents, messages, and later shared the material with associates as part of a draft of a book he was writing on this Bureau, on his time in the Bureau, I should say. He was arrested on Monday at a departure gate at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York as he was waiting to board an international flight. An attorney representing Buma did not immediately return an email or a requested comment. Well, I mean, we need to see a lot more of these guys arrested.
Yeah, because yes, Donald Trump is the president. I get all that. And the great people in his cabinet, I get that. But there are tens of thousands of deep stater anti-Americans within the administrative state. And that's where you're seeing this boondoggle, this treason that's happening in our country. Donald Trump is going to, and I heard him on one of his interviews said, "No, I will not defy the court." That was the absolute wrong thing to say. The absolute wrong thing to say is he should have said, "Of course I'm going to defy the court. I'm the executive branch. The judicial branch does not get to dictate to me what I'm allowed to do. I know what I'm allowed to do constitutionally, and because somebody in a black robe is incompetent and doesn't know the law, that does not hinder me." And that's the tack he needs to take. I know my law. I have all my constitutional attorneys around me, and they're saying that I can go ahead and do what I want to do. So I am going to go do what I want to do. Now the judicial, now we have a constitutional crisis. I'm not afraid of crisis. Let's go ahead and play this out. That's what he should do. We're in a national emergency. We're in a fight. We're in a war for the soul of America. There are no more half measures. I'm so tired of it. If you want half measures, then let's move Donald Trump out and bring someone like Jim Jordan in, or the Speaker Johnson, somebody that's half-assed about everything, that lies and corrupt. Let's bring them in. But if we're going to have the alpha male in the world, Donald Trump, sitting at the head of at the table, then let's start, sir. If I had 1 minute with Donald Trump, I would say, sir, go straight ahead like you're a lion that has been messed with by the hyenas and run through the savannah, killing everything in your wake. Go, go, go. Because history and historians are going to write volumes about you as the greatest president in the history of America. Or you can continue to be impotent like the rest of the Republican Party, and you could be a nobody in history. That's what I would tell him. Because and man, I know he would be pissed.
We got a very short window. And I keep reminding my family and my team that everything that we feared that during the 4 years of Biden and everything we feared that was going to come under Kamala can come back just like that.
Can you imagine if someone, say, like, just pick someone, Swalwell, AOC, somebody like that steals the next election? Do you think you and I are going to be able to speak this freely? No, absolutely not. If Kamala Harris won, you and I would already be hogtied. We would have already been told they would have planted child porn on us. They would have planted something, or they would have just said that we're hate speech, domestic terrorists, and they would just arrest us and throw us in jail under the Sedition Acts and Treason Acts, and we would have no due process. We'd be like the January 6ers. January 6th was a dry run on what they wanted to do with us with giant FEMA camps. I absolutely believe that.
Well, I don't think there's anyone with a sound mind couldn't disagree with you, because we saw what they did with a small group, and it was a total setup. People were led into it. Doors were open. People were baited. There was the setup. People were shot at. Flash bang grenades shot, and people's legs torn up, their faces, cheeks torn off. I mean, it was such a classic setup. That's why I tweeted the night before, people shouldn't go. I did that. I tweeted. I'm sure you probably did too. But I could smell the setup. But people went, and of course they could do this again. Of course they could. And you're right. They tested how the population would act. Population was upset, but that was it. That's all they ever are, is just upset. And if you're right, if Donald Trump, does his 4 years and they steal the election in 2028, they get back in, they will do what they did the 4 years under Biden, what they wanted to do under Kamala. And I hate to say it, most Americans will do what they always do, which is be upset about it, watch talk TV, listen to talk radio about it, be upset and wait for the next election. But at some point, there won't be another next election.
No.
At some point, they will have so destroyed the republic. you'll be like Zelensky, who just sits over there, suspends all elections, takes away freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and sits as the dictator, or Hugo Chavez, or name any of the other, Maduro, or Cuba. I mean, we've seen this before.
It'll happen again, and I will make this statement. If Donald Trump does not remove the 50 million illegal aliens in America, they will have won. They, the left, because the two things will happen. You will have a demographic explosion in births, which they're going to do, and you are going to have 60 to 62 seats flip in the House. How do they do that? Well, they're going to have the 2030 census, and it's going to flip because they're going to count all these 50 million illegal aliens in big blue cities, and they're going to take a congressional seats from Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and they're going to reappropriate them in California, New York, Illinois, and on and on and on. And it's over. What do we hold? A 3-seat majority, and that 3 seats is actually what's going to allow us to pass bills. Can you imagine if the Democrats have a 60-seat majority in the House? America is done.
And then they stack the Supreme Court. And
they bring in Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, and now they have more senators. Game over. They win.
They make those 2 entity states, as you say, and get 2 more U.S. senators.
I agree, and I hope somebody is telling Donald Trump this, sir, you have got to get faster. In order to make these arrests, you have got to deploy the military inside the walls of America. This is a national security issue. This needs to be dealt with immediately and as hard and fast as you possibly can. And stop waiting. Stop this garbage of they get to see an immigration judge. For God's sake, can we become a tough nation and say, you're illegal, you're gone. You're not going to go see the judge, and then tell the administrative state and all the judicial branch to go pound sand. And I'm going to remove everyone. If I was president and I had 4 years like Donald Trump, I would be blasting away. I would be doing things that challenged and pushed up on the Constitution every single day. Why? Because the people that hate America have destroyed America's systems from within. So therefore, I don't have allegiance to your rotten system. And Donald Trump needs to continue to speak like this and speak boldly. You corrupted the judicial system. You have circuit court judges telling the United States president what he can and can't do in the Treasury, in immigration. So you're going to have a D.C. Circuit Court judge telling him, the commander-in-chief, if he should bomb the Houthis or not? I mean, this is exactly what they're doing. Yeah, it's time for men to stand up and take our country back.
What's your new website?
It's just my name, jjcarroll.com. I'm very excited about it. www.jjcarroll.com. It has all of my stuff in there. It has my books, my documentaries, my Substacks writings, and what it does have, it has a direct link to all of my episodes on Worldview Tube. Truth with JJ Carroll is on there, and access to the vault as well. As I am piling, as you know, Brandon, I think I have like 10 interviews in there, long form interviews.
And tell them the latest one you have with Colonel McGregor.
I had an incredible discussion with Colonel McGregor for an hour. Colonel McGregor gave me an hour of his time, and I asked him questions I really don't think he's ever been asked before. And I made him a little flustered, I think. And we sat there and we talked. I asked him questions that I don't think many people ever asked him. And we got into immigration, we got into world politics, but I wanted to know more about the man, about his leadership, what he saw in the Army, how that plays out today, and what that leadership style, how it has gone away and died, and then what has replaced it, and is that a cause to what has caused America to fall so mightily right now? And it was a fascinating conversation. So I have a lot of those. Todd Bedsman, I have Doug Argo in there about fatherhood. I have now I'm seeing her everywhere, thank God, because she's such a wonderful lady, is Dr. Juliet Engel, who was a unwillingly sold participant in the sex magic and the MK Ultra. So I have a plethora of interviews on there, and they're growing every single month.
And if they want to access your vault, what do they do? Just worldviewtube.com/JJ?
Yep, that's it. And it takes you right there. And you know this, Brandon, if they do that and they pay either a monthly fee or an annual fee, they get access to all of your stuff too. And every other host on Worldview Tube, they get access to archive stuff forever. And what I know, as you know, as we're in this business and we begin doing writings and research and are just wanting to kind of connect the dots, it's amazing how history repeats itself and how history and current events now are tied to historical events. And as you think 10, 20, 30 years ago, that's a long time. It's not. So you have those archive interviews and shows in the vault.
Excellent. And you can then join under him and get him credit. Worldviewtube.com/JJ. Worldviewtube.com/JJ. JJ, thank you for being with us. Glad your show's on our network. JJ Carroll checking in. That's his site right there. JJ Carroll checking in, and go visit his site as well. Brand new site, jjcarroll.com, jjcarroll.com. All right, joining me now is Michael Weiner, Wes Peters, also known as the Bad News Bears. I don't know what bad news they might bring tonight. A lot of times they were bad economic news, but bad news can be good news if you're protected. But I'll tell you this, gold shot up today. We're talking, well, it's been shooting up. We're now at almost $3,050 an ounce. $3,046 an ounce. Silver is headed toward $34, $33.60. So crazy, right? I don't know. I bet you Wes Peters were about to hear an I told you so. I don't know. What do you think? It wouldn't be a report from the Bad News Bears if we didn't hear an I told you so from Michael Weiner, right, Wes?
Right. Yeah. I'm on your side, Brandon. I'm
Rest my case.
So go ahead, Michael. Gloat. Tell us how you predicted this 25 years ago.
25 years ago and 2.5 months ago, and I am predicting 3,800 year end.
Woo! Has that gone up? Wait a minute. Wes's eyes got big. Has that gone up 3,800 by year's end?
Went up $200. When the Fort Knox disclosure comes up, it'll be very dramatic. And it went up because of the European Union going digital in October and claiming that they're going to be able to cancel their money. Could you imagine a bank doing business with the European Union and they have the capacity to take all the money they sent them and cancel it? I'm not kidding. It's right in there. We've talked about it. And this administration is not buying into it.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by that. Can you flesh that out a little bit?
It's like you have a wallet. You went to Europe and they came back and you had a bunch of euros in your wallet, but you're not. You're going to have a digital wallet. And when you get home, all of a sudden you look in your wallet, there's nothing there because they canceled it.
So you're saying if you have a bank account in Europe, they're gonna take all your money and drain it?
They do it. That's what they're talking about. They want to have the right to invalidate whatever money you have. That's what's called total control.
Okay,
our administration is going for it.
Okay, wait a minute. Wouldn't that bring out the pitchforks and the torches, Wes?
Well, you would think so. They recently announced, I think you played the clip last week, Brandon, where they're rolling out a digital currency in October. You know, and once it's tokenized, your money's tokenized or digital, you have zero control. And I want to share a story right now that happened this week. A client went to wire $120,000, and the credit union refused to wire the money unless the client showed an invoice of what they were purchasing. Would not wire the money. And of course they're talking about all the fraud that's going on, which is true, and people need to be very careful. But these financial institutions are getting to the point where you will have zero privacy whatsoever. You don't actually own your money in the bank. They have total control, and they refuse to wire the money until she showed them an invoice.
Okay, was that someone trying to wire money to Swiss America to buy precious metals or put in their IRA or something?
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Do you want to name the bank or not?
It's a credit union, a local credit union.
Okay, a local credit union. Now, were they? Is she an older lady? Were they concerned she was being scammed?
Yeah.
And okay, so they were trying to look.
And that was their whole argument, that they were just trying to look out for her. And she put me on the phone with them, with the manager, and I said, "What if she doesn't want to show you the invoice? What if it's none of your business?" And he said, "Well, then we'll refuse to send the wire, just like we did." So it is happening. And people,
You know, I
need to pay attention.
understand not seeing older people being taken advantage of and told, some scam and they fall for it. I understand that. But it does seem, though, if the woman has her faculties and she's saying, look, I'm buying precious metals. Okay, I know the company. I've done my homework. This is what I'm buying. I can't imagine a bank saying, show me what you're buying. I mean,
Yeah.
So now what? She got to show them, yeah, I'm putting it in my IRA. I'm buying X dollars of bullion. I'm buying X dollars of numismatic. I mean, now they know her business.
Well, and I think it's going to get to a point where they're going to have a disclaimer for people to sign. If someone refuses, I'm not showing you. It's none of your business. They're probably going to have a disclaimer saying, well, then you're going to sign off that if this is fraud, we're not liable whatsoever. You're out the money that you wire. So they're cracking down. Go ahead, Mike.
Now, we had a client many, many months ago, worldly client, who was wiring us money. She'd been our client for 16 years. 16 years. Many purchases, and they were refusing to do the wire. They wanted all this information on what she was doing and everything else. And she said, I've been doing business with this company for 16 years, not 6 weeks. And they just drove her. It's like, who are they? They're the deep state. The banks are not your friends. Be very, very careful and aware of that. Create your own bank based on gold, not them. They will literally lock you out.
All right, let's talk about where this gold is going. I mean, what's driving it? I mean, obviously there's inflation. The Fed's decided this week they're not going to touch interest rates. They're going to stay the same, correct? So
Right.
Inflation seems to have, what's that, Wes? Wait, I'm
It's
sorry.
the dollar and is
But back up,
beneficial for gold.
Logan had you muted. Back up.
Well, what happened? So they held tight on rates yesterday, exactly. And Trump is throwing a fit. He wants them to lower rates. And when they do start lowering rates, which now there's talk of only twice this year, when they lower rates, that weakens the U.S. dollar, and that's going to be even more beneficial for gold and silver. And that's why there are people out there who are normally Wall Street stock and mutual fund cheerleaders talking about gold being $3,500 an ounce by the third quarter of this year. Michael's projecting a couple $100 higher by the end of the year, and he could be very, 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 very right on that. So,
Michael,
Wes is correct in what he's saying. That major fact that you got to understand, the Federal Reserve and Trump are at odds. He doesn't like Jerome Powell. I don't like Jerome Powell. Literally, he breaks the law. They're not supposed to be political, yet he is. And reality is they're going to be knocking heads, which will benefit the gold market. But ultimately, the other factor is the guy running this Treasury Department, Basant, is a huge asset-based gold guy. He's made it clear. He wants it backed in our economy. When this Federal Reserve, audit comes out, the federal government's going to base the floor price of their gold holdings on the spot price of gold. What does that make them? It makes them back in the gold business again because they have a vested interest in our pricing. So
and when is that going to happen, Michael?
We should have the result of that audit in the next 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks. So people are trying to be bargain hunters. You better start shopping.
Are they going to take the cameras in when they go in there or not?
I think there'll be a drum roll. I think that Trump and Musk and Basant are going to be there. I think it's going to be quite interesting because it's going to alleviate a good part of our debt. We talked about this, Brandon. If they revalue gold at $3,000 an ounce instead of $4,250, they're going to get close to $1 trillion added to their balance sheet. That's big news. Big news.
and I don't want to just see video of gold bars on racks of shelves. I want to see the books also. I want to see, is any of that gold being held as collateral to China and other countries that we owe them money? Is it leveraged? So I want to see the books on that. And something else that's not being talked about, Brandon, and I sent you the article on it. We have $9.2 trillion of the national debt that needs to be refinanced by June. And the current average rate on that debt is 3.2%. And if they have to refinance that at, let's say, a 10-year rate right now, which is like 4.25%, we already pay more to just service the debt than we do for our national defense, Department of Defense. So if they're having to refinance 9.2 trillion at a much higher rate, and that's why Trump is throwing a fit to get the Fed to lower rates so he can refinance that debt at a lower rate. And I think Trump is willing to tank the economy for a while in order to get those lower rates. And again, with those rates go down, money's going to be fleeing other safe haven investments like CDs and money market accounts. And that money's going to be looking for other places to go. And that money's going to be flowing into gold and silver. So people, you have not missed the boat. There's a lot to unwind here. And this is a huge deal, having to refinance that debt at much higher rates than it's currently at.
And if the rates come down, obviously, then businesses can borrow money less expensively, expand their business, be more profitable. Homeowners can get into more, hopefully better, lower mortgages, keep their payments down. I mean, it would stimulate the economy if the interest rates came down. Of course, we've always been afraid of interest rates being too low, because then that creates too much liquidity in the markets with cheap cash. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, you know, we need lower interest rates to be done more naturally than symbiotically by the Federal Reserve. Trump wants it to happen by the utilization of retaliatory tariffs, by restructuring of business and growth, and small business is booming right now again. And he wants it to happen naturally, not symbiotically through the Federal Reserve calling the shots. And I think when all this does come about, it's going to be very positive, but it's going to be a battle over the next year or more to get it done. But you got to remember another factor that's going on here. This tax situation. He has got to get this tax situation under control. This Congress has got to get the laws passed regarding extending the Trump era tax credits. Because if that doesn't happen, we're going to have a change in 2026, and we're going to have major problems. So they've got these bills that need to be passed right now through the House and the Senate that need to be done. The biggest positive we have right now is the Democrats are as dumb as dirt. They are backing everything that we all hate, even other Democrats, from the transgenders to the military situation, to the situation with the Tesla burning of the cars. All this kind of stuff infuriates Americans. To what idiot judge wants to bring a bunch of criminal aliens back to our country? What in the world does that make sense in? I mean, I'm glad my dad's not here. He would just be going nuts. And he was a Democrat.
Huh.
He would be going insane.
Let's
literally.
listen to what Jerome Powell said this week.
Has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. Labor market conditions are solid, and inflation has moved closer to our 2% longer run goal, though it remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. Uncertainty today is unusually elevated, and of course these projections are not a committee plan or a decision. Policy is not on a preset course. As the economy evolves, we will adjust our policy stance in a manner that best promotes our maximum employment and price stability goals. So growth looks like it's maybe moderating a bit, consumer spending moderating a bit, but still at a solid pace. Unemployment's 4.1%. Job creation most recently has been at a healthy level. Inflation has started to move up now, we think partly in response to tariffs, and there may be a delay in further progress over the course of this year.
Okay, so he's going to blame the inflation on the tariffs and President Trump. Does he not take any responsibility for the junk he did during the 4 years of Biden, Wes?
Oh yeah, cooking the books, bogus numbers, and you know they left Trump a foundation built on sand, you know, and they want to pull the rug out from underneath Donald Trump so badly and crash the economy. Just, you know, we've got midterms here in 2 years, and they would love nothing. You know, look at the Democrats cheering for Tesla stock crashing. You know, and they don't care if that happens to the economy, and they set Trump up to be the fall guy so they could try and win the midterms. And Powell, you know, he's not a big Trump fan by any means. So I don't think he's going to do anything to help Trump. It's all political, unfortunately.
Yeah. Look at what Utah's doing. First in the nation, Utah legislature passes bill paving the way for state vendors to be paid in gold and silver. HB 306 authorizing the state treasurer to issue a competitive procurement for a precious metals-backed electronic payment platform, allowing state vendors to opt for payment in physical gold and silver. Are you telling me you're going to be able to pay your property taxes, Wes, in gold or silver?
Now I'm going to get rid of my worthless dollars. I'm going to pay them in their funny money, monopoly money, rather than physical metal.
That's what's so frustrating right now, is that people are sitting on the sidelines and not paying attention. This is a period of time where you have the ability, you're at the precipice. This isn't the end of the gold market. This is the beginning of it. And I believe at the end of Trump's term, we'll be looking $6,000, $7,000 gold. And understand that if you start building up your own nest egg of dealing, you can deal with it yourself. We can help you. But when we deal with people who are doing nothing more than sitting on their hands, sort of like the Democrats not clapping for anything logical at the speech that President Trump made a State of the Union, it's the same thing right now. Why are you playing game? There's nothing wrong with stocks. I'm not a mutual fund guy. I've already made that perfectly clear. But when we are talking about the caboose at the end of the train, for goodness sakes, have one. And if you're sitting back right now and trying to think, well, I'm going to buy on the big dip in gold. You know, I told people when gold hit 1,000, it wouldn't go below it again. It's at 3,000. It's not going to go below it maybe once, and then it won't hold at all. So if you're a buyer, you better be looking to do something now. I keep on my desk in my office a note from this guy who told me when gold was $1,100 that when it goes below 1,100, he wants to buy. It's still sitting there, isn't it? Yep, still there. Well, I'm telling you all, you better start doing something soon, because if you don't, you'll pay us a lot more.
Look at this chart. Look at this, 1969 to 2023. I'll try to get a more updated chart here. Now we're in 2025 here in a second. But, I mean, there you go. I mean, that tells you a lot. Let me find go back to those pretty faces there, and I'll find you yeah.
While you're looking for that, Brandon, I'll just go over the markets year to date as of today. Year to date, the Dow Jones is up 1.4%. The NASDAQ is down 8.1%. The S&P 500 is down 3.5%. There's a popular bond ETF, so bonds, which are up 3.2%. Gold, which is, we sell gold as a backup plan, an insurance policy. We don't sell gold telling people you're going to make a ton of money. Gold's up 16.2%. Silver's up 17.4%. And again, the traditional Wall Street cheerleaders that sell their stocks and mutual funds and tell people never to sell out and stay the course, it's going to come back. And, you know, we're going through turbulent times that your financial advisor has never lived through or seen. And it's going to be painful for a while. So
here's a chart taking us up to 2024, and it's still going up. So that's 1924 to 2024. That's the last 100 years.
Gold is no longer a commodity. It's a financial instrument. I said that 6 months ago. So did Wes. It is a finance, and you're hearing it in Utah, and that's just the beginning. Because when Arizona gets rid of this lovely lady that we have as a governor, watch and see what happens in Arizona. This is a mining state. Watch and see what goes on.
Wes?
And what's interesting, Brandon, if you put a chart up next to that gold chart showing the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar, it would be the complete opposite. Because it's not the fact that gold is going up that much. That's how much purchasing power the dollar has lost over time. So if you put those two charts next to each other, you would see a correlation between the two. That over time, as we all know, your dollar's buying you less and less every year. Now it's buying you less and less every month. So
I want to bring that chart. Let me find one of those. Here we go.
I'd be very concerned if I was sitting on annuities, only because of the fact that the reason why Metropolitan Life went out of the annuity business was because they were concerned that 10 years down the line, if they'd actually be able to pay the money out that they assumed that they would be able to do based on projections. So, the people who get buried in those, be very careful.
Here's a fun one. If I can get all the stupid commercials that quit coming up over it. This is a fun one. Why do they do that? It's so irritating. Boy, they really don't. They're not in. All right, this is 2021, so this is older. But in 1913, what $1 buys? In 1913, it's saying you could buy 30 Hershey bars.
I'll take them.
Which I guess in 2020 dollars, it would have cost you $26.14. You could have bought with $1 in 1929, 10 rolls of toilet paper for $1. You could buy for $1 in 1933, you could buy 10 bottles of beer. Let's go all the way down here. $1 in 2020 will buy you 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that was 2020. I mean, I know I'm going to try to find it up, but you asked for a chart on the purchasing power of the dollar. I mean, it's just gone right to the toilet.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, would anyone bother to pick up $1 if they saw it on the ground?
No. Well, I would. Let me know where you're going to be.
I think I found another chart here. Let's see. Well,
and something else with the bonds while you're looking for that, Brandon.
Yeah.
With the bonds, if the Fed starts lowering rates, if Trump gets his way and the Fed starts lowering rates, we could be heading very quickly to another bond inversion where we're back to where you could get more money on a 2-year bond than you could a 10-year bond. So people that are in bonds right now need to be aware of that if we get back to the bond inversion, that's what's happened with the banks. These banks are locked into long-term investments, paying a low return, and they have this, they had these unrealized losses on the books that they started selling out right before rates went down. These bonds started dumping those long-term investments at a loss to lock into these higher rates. And that's what's going to happen to the consumer also. The bond market is flashing a warning sign.
Wes is right. And one other thing, I got a good buddy who's a top bond company guy. And last time Trump was in office, the bond market crashed and burned. But he was happy because he loved Trump. And at the end of the day, he says, well, he talked to me the other day, just like Wes is saying, here we go again. If you're sitting on bonds, be very careful. But, the problem is nobody's going to tell you that until it happens. They're not proactive, they are reactive. They are trained to be reactive in financial services because if they do the opposite and warn you, they fear panic. But it's not panic, it's called commissions. That's all.
Nobody's really updated their little charts, but I'll go back to this one because it's kind of fun. They ruin it with all their stupid commercials that will get over top of it. So hopefully the audience can see it. 1913, creation of the Federal Reserve, purchasing power of $1. Today it takes, this was in 2021, it would take $26.14 to buy 30 Hershey bars. As I said a while ago, you can buy them for $1. And as you keep going down there, 2020 COVID pandemic, $1 buys you that cup of coffee. And I mean, it's just escalation of the Vietnam War. Again, talks about what you could get for $1. I mean, it's ridiculous. Our grandparents and our great-grandparents would be blown away. Absolutely. Right. I think my great-grandfather bought a house in 5 acres, here in Tennessee in, I think it was 1918, and it was $800. A house and 5 acres in Tennessee, 1918, $800.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, that's why
that house in 5 acres is still there. Yeah. Can you imagine what it's worth today?
Well, most people buy houses to make money now instead of buying. I bought a house to live in, not to make money. Most people buy them to make money and flip them, and now they get jammed. That's why the housing market is so screwed up, because it's become a financial investment versus a home.
Although I know some people have done pretty well in real estate. Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's a natural lawn. Okay, I mean he's a builder.
Yeah,
I'm talking a homeowner.
yeah.
I mean when you and Melissa
I just want
bought
to
your
clarify a homeowner versus, but then again, a lot of people have been in their home for 20 years have done pretty doggone well.
Well, that's true. But now that out here in Arizona, people have made money in 2 years, ridiculous amounts of money, and now they're not, and they're hurting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just-
Well, that's different. That's different.
10 years ago, when you made your events, the annual event in Branson, hypothetically, how much would that event cost you right now?
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. What the buildings cost, the airfare, the hotels, the printing, the promotion, the postage, everything versus now, absolutely. Way more expensive now.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, let's see here. I guess that's it. Unless you guys have something else to add. You can get a free packet of information on precious metals. Get your packet, 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585. Get your free packet of information from Michael Weiner and Wes Peters. They'll tell you and talk to you about precious metals like bullion, taking physical custody of gold, silver, bullion, or you want to do numismatic, 1933 and older, which comes with a premium on it, but you have the spot price, and then the premium price can also go up based on the fact that it's a rare coin. And as more people want the rare coins because they provide privacy under the law, they become scarce. Because they become scarce, the premium price goes up along with the spot price. So you can possibly see your portfolio increase with spot price and the premium price as it increases, as the market shrinks of people, being able to buy those rare coins. That's the numismatic. And then putting gold into your IRA. They can help you with all that. Yes, who was going to say something?
Yeah. One other thing.
I was going to say, Brandon, if this TV thing doesn't work out for you, we have a desk for you to sell gold and silver with us. So
we'll
keep that in mind.
But you could be like in a sandwich. So you could bring Dolly.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah. But
You're saying if I want to come and move to Phoenix and work and get a desk, Dolly's welcome at the office. You think Dean will allow me to bring Dolly?
It doesn't matter. We'll override him.
We'll override him. And I could sit there next to Wes and Michael and talk to people about precious metals all day.
That's right. Dolly can talk.
You think I'd do okay? You think I could make a living doing that, Wes?
I think so. Absolutely. But I want to point something out real quick that happened this week, and it's happened, happens more often than not, actually. So people text me for the information. They do their due diligence, their homework. They look at it. I'll shoot them a text a week later. Hey, it's Wes, Swiss America, just following up. Want to make sure you received everything. Do you have any questions? And this lady said to me, she said, well, we haven't decided if we want to buy gold and silver yet. And my response to her was like, well, most people, when they reach out to us, they haven't decided that they're ready to buy. Let's have a conversation. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't obligate you in anything. We're not going to browbeat you. That's what we're here for, is to educate. We give you that information as like a foundation to do some homework, to maybe come up with some questions. But I can't tell you how many clients Michael and I have that never even bothered to review the information because they have this crazy thing called life going on. Whether you've reviewed the material or not, we're going to cover everything from A to Z. Why you should own gold and silver, how it's going to benefit you, how you'll actually use it, what's the difference between bars and coins, bullion, numismatic. We cover everything from A to Z. And as we're explaining it, it's going to answer a lot of questions that you had. And it's also probably going to create some questions you never even thought about. So I don't want people thinking that you have to make the decision after looking at that material, okay, we're ready to talk to these guys we want to buy. That's not how this works. Call us with your questions. If you don't know what questions to ask, when we're done talking and explaining things, you're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or, well, what about this? So I just want to encourage everyone, don't think you need to call us once you've made up your mind that you're ready to buy. If you're on the fence, you have questions, concerns, let's talk about it. That's all I got. That's all I'm saying.
Closing for me very quickly. The difference, a lot of us are excited about Donald Trump. We all are. Thank God he is in office. However, Donald Trump is giving you the opportunity to organize and protect yourself. Joe Biden did not. He was taking that away. You now have the capability of reorganizing yourself. If you fail to do so, it is the biggest mistake you're making in your life right now. Pay attention. Don't not pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's the Bad News Bears, Wes Peters, Michael Weiner. And again, get your free packet, 602-558-8585. All right, there you go. All right, big show tonight. Lots in there, no doubt about it. Hey, if you appreciate all we're doing, spread the word, promote us, get your free packet of information or your free packet of business cards to pass out. Over 9,000 of these have now been sent out. Go to worldviewstore.com, get your free pack, send them out to friends or give them to family and friends as you run into them. Maybe a waiter or waitress or the lady that cuts your hair or whatever it might be. Just tell people about us with these free business cards you can pass out. You get a pack of 20. When you run out, we'll send you another pack of 20. You can order them at worldviewstore.com. Don't forget, we're coming to Milwaukee April 15th. 900 plus seats now already spoken for. It's free, but you must register. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewtube.com/events. I think we have a lower third for it. Worldviewtube.com/events. I'm waiting on the lower third. Is it going to be there? There it is. Worldviewtube.com/events. Register for April 15th. Absolutely free, but you have to register. All right, folks. I say it every night as we go off the air. We appreciate your support. Whether you go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, check out all of our sponsors, the water purifiers, which take all those chemicals out of your water. You don't want to drink all that water. Go to worldviewtube.com. You don't want to drink all those chemicals in your water. Get all that out of there. I mean, some of this stuff causes cancer along with other stuff. I mean, I think we all know you don't want to drink pesticides, an arsenic, right? Fluoride. That lowers the IQ. You don't want your grandbabies drinking this. You want smart grandbabies, right? So give this to your kids as a gift. The under the sink counter is awesome. You can also one for the shower. I have one for the shower. This one right here on the far right bottom. And I have one for the kitchen sink. And this is the water Dolly drinks. It's what I drink, what we all drink, because none of us want to drink chemicals. None of us want cancer or any other health issues from drinking toxins. Now, do you? Of course not. Worldviewwater.net, or you also find it at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all the other sponsors there as well. Oh, you know what? We got a brand new one. Look at that. Bold flavor, exceptional quality, worldviewcoffee.shop. Get it right, folks. It's .shop, worldviewcoffee.shop. We like this. Logan, you like the cream that comes with it too, right? What? It's a protein creamer. So Logan, I saw him today scooping something up and I'm like, what is he doing? It's like 20 calories, he said in my ear. All right. It's creamer and it's low in calories. He loves it. It's protein. So he was putting some of the protein creamer in his coffee today. This is great because it is not sprayed with pesticides. Because again, I don't have to tell you, it's not good to drink pesticide. Newsflash, Logan, should we do the breaking news? Newsflash? It's not good to drink pesticide. I don't think that's breaking news. I think that's common sense. But if you drink coffee that's not organic, you are drinking one of the most sprayed crops in the world. So we're drinking now 1775 coffee, which you can get at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors, or you can go to worldviewcoffee.shop. Either way, check it all out. And then, of course, you know, you can get the ivermectin, all of the amoxicillin, all of the kits you need. Should there be a disruption? Should we go to World War III? Should there be a financial crisis? Should we have China, as Trump says, if China decides they don't want to send us pharmaceuticals anymore, we could be in a world of hurt. WorldviewHealthcare.com, WorldviewHealthcare.com. Check out also their great plans like the Wellness Premier, free prescriptions, or the Wellness Elite, free prescriptions and free supplements. Woohoo! All right, WorldviewHealthcare.com, WorldviewHealthcare.com. And don't forget, of course, as I always say it, one of the greatest ways you can support us is simply go to WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. WorldviewFoundation.com. Is today the first day of spring? Oh, I think my wife says it is. My wife loves the warm weather. She said, you know what today is? I said, I don't know, Thursday, March 20th. The first day of spring, Brandon. She's so excited. She loves that warm weather, that Tennessee sunshine. The trees are blooming like crazy, crazy. Spring is definitely here. Happy spring. Thanks for watching. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
All right, welcome. Glad you're with us on this day, being March 20th, 2025. March 20th, 2025. There's an article out today over at Town Hall